This is the Throstle Club with Norman Bartlam and Bob Downing.
Hello and welcome to a festive edition of the Throstle Club. It's the programme where we look back on the long and illustrious history of West Bromwich Albion, with stories of particular interest to this month in days gone by. Now, as usual, sitting alongside me is the well-known former Sports Argus journo, Bob Downing, a man, of course, who always has an Argus form rate of excellence. Isn't that right, Bob?
Dead right, that is, Norman. Thank you very much.
I thought you might say that somehow. And talking of excellence, sitting opposite me is the technical whiz kid in the shape of Billy Spakeman. And I say the shape of Billy Spakeman, there's not many shapes like that, is there? And our studio guest today is Simon Wright. He's a man who in days gone by was responsible for the wonderful Albion fanzine, Grorty Dick.
Yay, thank you very much. Wow, steady on, guys.
I think straight off we'll get into our guest Simon Wright, who wrote the Albion fanzine, or edited the Albion fanzine, Grorty Dick. Now, first of all, some people might say, what the hell's Grorty Dick?
Oh, surely listeners to Black Country Radio would know exactly what Grorty Dick is. It's a famous, in the Black Country, Black Country belly filler. Spicy stew, I suppose you might describe it as, going back a couple of centuries. Rolled oats, groats are the key ingredients, and leeks and onions. You don't see it very often, but it's if you want a cheap and spicy casserole, that's the place to go.
Sounds like me eating these school dinners, doesn't it?
So something's cheap and you get a belly full is obviously related to the Albion, isn't it? Which is quite appropriate for the fanzine. So what was a fanzine? Because they don't exist in the Albion terms anymore, but there still are a few going in the country. In the 90s, 2000s, they were really popular, weren't they? Yeah,
they were really popular then, and there is something of a revival now for clubs who don't really have media coverage elsewhere. It's essentially a publication written by supporters, for supporters. And back then, back in the late 1980s, there was a perception that football supporters in general were second class and things could be done to them. They could be locked up, told to stand behind 10-foot fences, told to shut up, They had no rights, There was this perception that they were second class, they were hooligans, and there was just no outlet for, intelligent supporters to actually say, hang on a moment, this is wrong. Well, there's got to be a better way of doing this. And that's something I really, really wanted to address, as did many people at other clubs around the land. But of course, this is very different. Computers only just started coming in. Some publications still using typewriters because there was nothing else. So it was, the publications we put out were pretty rough and ready, but they were heartfelt. Quality wasn't always there. Quality that you had to learn on the job. But, from issue number 1, which was 1989, it was very well received. We did 1,000 copies and we sold out, which, considering it was our money that we're covering the print bill, that was a big relief.
Yeah, so basically it's giving fans a voice, really, isn't it?
Absolutely.
Communication network with the club as well.
Yeah, you have to emphasise, now, it's pre-internet. There were no... there were no mobile phones, no internet. There's just nowhere to sound off, nowhere to say, hang on, that's wrong, there's the better way. So we're able to build on that. And, from pretty much from day one, and because we worked really, really hard, we're able to build up quite a following. We're selling 2,500 copies, which is quite a lot, really, for an amateur publication. And at our peak, we were doing 13 a season, so just like every other match, it was constant battle, How on earth I did it, I have no idea. I think I was putting 60 hours into each issue, which, You'd probably find that a bit of a challenge, Bob, wouldn't you?
I would. I certainly would.
Yeah.
I think it's important, to show people how important and how vital these fanzines were. There's a publication called When Saturday Comes, and their preview for the coming season wasn't written by journalists. It was written by the editors of all the various fanzines in the country, and it was far, far better. It was better than I could do. But they told it as it were. I mean, sometimes you had to be careful what you said about the clubs, otherwise they'd never talk to you again. But that was not the thing with the fanzines. So it was, you got the feeling of what the fans thought, not what they were coming through from, the, as it was then, embryonic PR department.
In the early days of the fanzine, of course, we had Woking, which is like still sends a shudder through everybody. But that sort of made us, because suddenly the local press, the BBC, and even Sky wanted to talk to me. They wanted the outrage. They wanted the "this is wrong. We must do better." And there's nobody else like standing up actually saying anything. I was frankly dreadful. But they kept asking me because nobody else wanted to do it. So that made us, the contributions to the mag shot up, the sales really, really shot up. And, we're on the way. We're able to get player interviews, get to talk to directors. And it become part of the football culture because we sold at every single game, home and away. And we were, always a rallying point, a consultation point, a soothe the brow point when things weren't going very well. And, there's so many stories around that time. We were known as being the loudest sellers in the country. And particularly to away games, we were known to upset people on night shifts. We were known to upset mothers who were trying to get their babies off to sleep. We're even known to upset the fanzine editors of the home club who didn't think shouting was actually the way to sell fanzines, although we're clearly outselling them.
Yeah, brilliant. Now, we'll talk a bit more about Grorty Dick maybe later in the programme, but let's move on for a bit. And our first interview today with a former player is a man from Gary Megson's days. And now, recently, you'll know, you two, that England played North Macedonia in the wonderful capital city of Skopje over there in North Macedonia. And a big Albion man from that part of the world is
Artim Sakari.
Artim Sakari, that's right. Yeah,
I would have said that, but I couldn't pronounce it.
Let alone spell it. Yeah, it's IT, Bob, but there you go. So Artim Sakari, that's right. Yeah. No, I was lucky enough to meet up with him for an hour or so before that England game kicked off in Macedonia, and this is what he had to say.
I'm Artim Sakari, on the Throstle Club, and thank you for coming to visit me here in Skopje, in Macedonia. I have a great memory from West Bromwich Albion, and I hope soon they will be back where it belongs. Merry Christmas to Albion fans.
You must have some good, fond memories of being with West Bromwich Albion.
Yes, I do. I have a great memory from West Bromwich Albion.
What do you remember of your debut? Because it was against Burnley, wasn't it? And you scored.
Well, my debut was against...
league debut, this was.
Yeah, but it was against Warsaw, the first match, and we lost, I think, 4-0, 4-1. Yeah, 4-1. I played last 15 minutes on that game. Not really perfect start, but it was a good start for me to know the players, the team, because I was short time with the team, working on a work permit that time, and I couldn't do anything with the club, with the team, to be together. And then it was the first game against Burnley at home at Hawthorn. That after 1-0 down, I scored a great goal, which I believe that everybody remembers that one. It's good to score on those games. So that was the perfect start for me. Honestly, I had a great time there. Even I didn't play much. I didn't get a chance to show myself more, to help the team more. But that's the football. The manager decides who's playing, who's not, and I accept it like it is. It was to work till end and to wait the chance when I'll get it from the managers. So not just me, but every player. It's the duty of every player to do this the same.
Yeah. So Gary Megson, of course, was the manager that brought you to the club.
Yeah, the first manager was Gary Megson, like you said. We had a great connection, great talk, and I haven't spoke to him for a long time since he left the club before me. And then we haven't spoke with him, but I'm in touch with a few players, which we're talking about that. And I remember one thing that Gary Megson said to me that every goal I score, I will get a bottle of champagne from him.
Oh, right.
That was really funny. And then late Frank, assistant.
Frank Burrows.
Yeah, he passed away. That it was a really sad news, I've heard. He was telling me that if I score with the right foot goal, he will buy a drink too. But I said, listen, I'm not drinking, so the drink I will give it to them to drink. But it was really good time. We had a really good time working as a team, fight till the end, and that was a really perfect year. After 1 year, West Brom to come back in the Premier League.
Mm-hmm. So the atmosphere at the time would be, and the excitement must have been tremendous.
It was like everybody working together to get back in the Premier League, and we achieved it in the end.
So was that one of your dreams, to play in the Premier League, I dare say?
Yes, that was my dream, to play, because I refused other teams, which one of the biggest clubs was Fenerbahce at that time, when I was in CSKA Sofia. And West Brom wanted me to be with them from January that year, when West Brom was playing in the Premier League that year. But I had a contract with CSKA Sofia, and the club didn't want me to go in January because they wanted to be the champion, they wanted to win the league. And in the end, we won the league in Bulgaria, we were the champion. And we agree with the West Brom. With Jeremy Peace, we signed a pre-contract that to join to West Brom in that summer. In the game before Turkey, we played in Istanbul. There was connection between my agent and the club to join them. But I know that I've heard that Jeremy Peace sent an email that time fax to the club that I have signed it with West Brom, and that was cancelled. And that was it. It was really one dream come true that time, because I was trying for a long time to play in the Premier League. Mm-hmm. Like I said, that before that I tried with Bolton to be there, but because of refusing my work permit, I couldn't sign with the Bolton 2001. Mm-hmm. And then after that it's come this with West Brom.
Yeah. So obviously some really good times. But then at the end, did Gary Megson leave, and then was it Brian Robson?
When Gary leaves, that was Brian Robson, mm-hmm. the legend of the club and Manchester United and England. We had really good talking with him, good time with him. I started on 3 games, Arsenal game. We drew away in Highbury. We lead 1-0, then we finish 1-1. But I did really, really well on that game. Then we lost Manchester United at home. I was unlucky. And I didn't have much time playing that year. I wanted to play, but like I said, that managers decided who's playing, and I had to accept it like it goes.
Yeah.
My work was to work hard and wait, but that didn't come true. That to get a second chance to play, and that was after 2 years contract finish. Then signed it for Burnley in the summer, and still had a problem with the work permit, so I had to leave England in 2005 after West Brom.
So what have you been doing since?
Well, since there, I've been playing for other clubs. I was in Denmark, Finland, I was in Switzerland.
Have you had something like 11 different countries or something, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Is it?
Fantastic. Yeah.
Yeah.
You're obviously good at geography at school.
Exactly. Albania, and then before I finished my career, I was in Azerbaijan, Karabakh, which now they shown in Europe because they invest in really good money there in Karabakh, and that was my last year playing football, and then I retired from there. Finished my coaching courses, manager courses, like you said, in England manager, and I've been working with the teams since then. But for a moment, I'm free and looking for a new club to start as a manager.
Well, obviously, we wish him well there in his quest to become a manager, and I'm sure he'll make a great job of it. I think when he does get a job, and we'll try and keep you posted on his progress there. He's obviously got some great fond memories of the Albion, hasn't he?
Yeah.
I've got some great fond memories of meeting up with him as well, because some of his friends were there as well. A couple called Jana and Goran were there. And I ended up getting a ticket for the match from Jana, who turns out to be the sister of the centre-back, Nicola, who played for North Macedonia that day. So I had the pleasure of meeting them, a smashing couple they were, and actually sat with them in the players and the family enclosure area at the ground. So that was quite a unique perspective. Really,
you shared
for
the
watching
pictures,
that
Norm.
match.
You were grinning like a Cheshire cat.
Yeah. Well, if you look on Facebook, there's some really good pictures, and I really enjoyed meeting them. So that was great. Now we've had a message from a man called Douglas Gorman, who I think you know, Simon, who's been working with Robert Bradley, and they've just produced another self-published book all about Scottish Albion players, Tartan Throstles it's called. They've already done one volume, but they'd like us to mention that the second volume is out now. And apparently there's 61 profiles of former Albion players that were Scottish.
Yeah.
So obviously Ray Wilson springs to mind, doesn't he? And
Dougie Fraser,
Dougie Fraser, Ali Robb, Bobby Hope,
yeah,
Acer, etc.
Yeah.
Immediately spring to mind.
But
there's
knowing that
61
pair,
of them.
They'll be featuring a lot of players you may not be that familiar with.
Oh yeah, but both of them will be very, very thorough.
Detailed, yeah.
Well, I've got the first volume,
and
the research that's gone into it is absolutely phenomenal.
Yeah,
absolutely phenomenal.
Yep.
And it makes, I mean, as you said, Simon, players who I hadn't got a clue who were, but the stories behind them.
Yeah,
really good.
Always makes a book, doesn't it? Of stories.
No, the book's available. It's only available on the self-publishing website Lulu at the moment. So, Bennis, it's Lulu. It's good to give it a shout.
Oh, goodness me. I'm going to need a minute to get over there.
I'm pleased with your reaction. Shall we move on?
Yes, please.
Urgently.
Now, I've been doing a bit of research and...
Not like you.
Yeah, indeed. Yeah.
I'm sorry about that.
Now,
mate.
there's the name that I've heard of quite often in the past is David Asson, Asson, and he was a West Bromwich-born referee, and it turns out that he passed away 80 years ago this month, which is a significant anniversary. And he was quite significant in his time. Apparently, he may have had a trial for West Brom in days gone by, but he became a referee. And he was the referee for the first FA Cup final at Wembley, the famous White Horse,
the White Horse one,
final in 1923.
Never knew that.
So I've only recently just discovered about this. So if any listeners out there know anything about him, perhaps that they could get in touch. Apparently, he lived in West Brom all his life. He was presented with a gold watch, a chain as a memento of his cup final duties from the Birmingham and District Referees Association. So if anybody knows anything about him, perhaps I could get in touch.
Yeah, by all means. Yeah, be interesting to know about that.
Yep. Now, the moment you haven't been waiting for.
Oh,
it's the quiz of the week.
Oh,
let me get my paper ready, me pen.
Now, can we have a handicap system on this, please?
Right, just a few questions this week, so shout the answers out. Simon versus...
Simon
versus
starts at minus
Bob.
10, Billy, all right.
Okay, right, okay.
Now, no cheating here, Billy, you know, on the scores.
I'll never
I know you would never do anything like this.
Underhanded.
But here we go then. So, question number one, shout the answers out. Who made his debut for the Albion in December 1963? He's got a finger that everybody talks about.
John Osborne.
No, not that finger. I'm thinking of another one. A finger of sweet. A finger of
Fudge.
Fudge.
Oh, Mickey
A finger of Fudge. Mickey Fudge.
Who was that?
That's Bob.
Bob,
Yeah.
okay.
Number
This is
2. Tony Morley made his Albion debut in December of which year?
84.
Oh, close.
85, 83.
83.
Oh, Bob.
Good. Gosh.
Get it away.
You got a bounce off him, Bob.
Who made his debut on Boxing Day 1966 and later became the first sub in an FA Cup
Dennis
final?
Clarke.
Dennis Clarke. Simon
That's
just
on
in there.
Just in there.
Who's the former goalkeeper who passed away in December 88?
Norman.
No.
Tony Millington?
No. You've already mentioned him, actually.
Oh, 88. Oh, John Osborne.
John Osborne.
Yeah.
John Osborne.
Yes, of course.
Right. Next one. December 1949
Oh, God.
was a debut for an Albion wing half who went on to play 320
Ray Barlow.
times for the Albion, and his surname is also one of the Black Country towns.
Oh, goodness me.
Tipton.
Not Tipton.
No.
Go on.
Oh, I should know
Come on.
this.
It's a Black Country town. Jimmy
Dudley.
Dudley.
Oh,
Jimmy Dudley.
Bob,
Yeah.
he's in there.
Good, right.
Oh.
So, 2 to go. Derek Statham made his Albion debut in December 1976 against which
Stoke.
side?
Stoke City. Yeah.
Ooh,
Who was
Bob,
that?
just about Bob
Yeah.
there, I think.
He's
So-
sharp, isn't
Hey.
he?
Yeah,
I
and,
didn't know he was
Hey,
this good.
Get it up early in the morning,
What
Billy.
do you want?
What's the scores there, Billy? Because there's one question to go.
Well, I can't because then you'll know who's won.
Not suggesting you're going to fix it, but this is the last one. This month is the 40th birthday of which former baggy who was signed by Brian Robson from Birmingham City in 2005.
2005.
Birmingham City.
Oh, Horsefield?
No, not
No,
Huddersfield. The other one,
later.
Darren.
Purse.
Darren. Oh,
Darren Purse.
No, the other one. Darren. Not Darren Purse, but. Oh, if I don't get this in the next 5 seconds, it's 15 points to me. No, it's Darren Carter.
Oh!
So that's 15 points to me there.
That's it's enormous.
So,
Oh, yes, my wife hates Darren Carter.
she does.
He actually
Okay,
hits
so
it with a
do you want the
football.
winner? Do you want the winner?
Go on then.
Oh, that's going to be
Well,
Bob,
we have to
isn't
make
it?
a supplement because Bob's over 65, so he gets 14 to start with. So Bob's won actually. He's got 20.
Oh,
yes.
Excellent.
Oh, I didn't know you were
Well,
this lethal.
oh, I can look forward to Christmas now.
Another victory there for Bob. You were saying your wife Glynis got smacked in the face there by Darren Carter?
Yeah, it was, I think, at Birmingham City. He was playing for Albion against the Blues, and they're warming up pre-season. It was a very wild shot at goal by Darren Carter, and my other half wasn't looking, and thud. She was knocked over by the football. So
It couldn't have happened to a nice
yeah,
person.
I mean, being completely rational, she'd blamed Darren Carter for it ever since. You know?
Excellent. Right. Now then, we mentioned Mickey Fudge there in 1963. So, little clip of him here talking about his debut.
Well, I was actually fell on the day. I was watching my brother-in-law play at Darlaston, of all places, and because I didn't have a clue, because I played the day before. I played the day before in a Central League game against the Villa, and it was a game where if we won the Central League, but if Villa beat us, they'd win the Central League because we came runners up. And what happened was I was watching the game and it came over the tannoy. Will Mickey Fudge please go to the somebody wants to see you. When I got there, it was Johnny Jarman. So Johnny Jarman says, "You're playing?" I said, "Playing what?" You know, I didn't realise. I said, "I played yesterday." You know, and he said, "No, you've been picked to play." So I've got to get you to the ground. I said, "No, I hadn't shaved," and I said, "Get your blazer." So I had to go home, get changed, put my blazer on, and I headed off to the ground. Like, you know, it was unbelievable. I couldn't believe it. My head was sort of like spinning, thinking, "Christ, I'm playing with all these lads," like, you know. And on the day, I had a lot of telegrams and that afterwards and stuff and all this, like, but on the day, it just worked out for me. Chippy was brilliant. I mean, Chippy Clarke. If you couldn't score goals with Chippy in the side, you know, and Johnny Kay was in that, like, you know, and on the day it was a joy to play with these. Like, we just clicked as a team.
So there we go then. Now another player to make his debut in the mid-1960s, who was mentioned in the quiz, is Dennis Clarke, who made his debut Boxing Day in 1966.
It was coming to Christmas, thereabouts, and made my debut against Tottenham Hotspur. It might have been an evening match. I can't remember if it was the day or evening. But I remember we beat them 3-0, and Jeff Hostler was saying to Tony Brown, which foot do you want it on? He used to head him down to Tony. Left foot in the net, right foot into the net. I remember Mike England, Cyril Knowles, Jimmy Greaves, Frank Saul. There's some great players. And then 3 days later, we went to White Hart Lane and drew 0-0.
Yeah.
So it was a good start to my career.
Yeah, but you were about 19 then, were you?
18.
18, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So by that time, you'd already got a lot of confidence anyway. So presumably you weren't all that nervous then on your debut?
No, never been nervous. It's a great feeling. I can't explain it. It's like the hairs in the back of the ears. And when you're playing like 100,000 crowd, you feel 10 foot tall. It's great. I can't explain it than that. It's you have to experience it, which I have twice. It's just a great feeling.
Yeah, now to complete a hat-trick of debutants, if you like. Earlier this year, Bob, didn't we met up with Lyndon Hughes.
Yeah.
It was great talking to him, wasn't it?
A really good bloke, a really nice fella.
Yeah, one of the things we didn't have time for was to talk about his debut, which was against Arsenal in 1968. So let's rectify this now, and this is Lyndon talking about that great day.
My debut against Arsenal was a tough game. Arsenal were challenging, I think, for both titles at the time. And we were well underdogs for the game. And I made my debut as a joint centre forward with Jeff Astle, my hero from years gone by. And I didn't score. I didn't have much possession. I worked very hard. I remember being extremely tired. I was going to say knackered, but I can't say that. I was extremely tired when I'd finish, and we won 1-0, I think. Was it 1-0?
Yeah, it was 1-0, yeah.
Yeah, and Tony Brown scored.
That's right, yeah.
Yeah. And so to beat Arsenal on the debut was a fantastic result. Whatever happens, however well I played, I made a contribution to the team. That was the main thing.
What was it like playing alongside Jeff?
Has it been a hero, you know?
Interesting. Interesting. But no, he's a good bloke, Jeff. We became great mates, Jeff Astle. In fact, he opened one of my shops when I worked in Wine Rack years gone by.
Yeah.
He opened one of my shops for me, so he was a great fella, Jeff Astle.
Well, approaching your debut then, how long in advance did you know that you were going to be making your first team debut?
I think the day before.
So you hadn't got much time to get too nervous. Were you a nervous type?
Not outgoing, but you're bound to get nervous. But I wasn't shaking like a leaf or anything like that.
Yeah.
But you're bound to get a bit nervous.
Yeah.
I went straight round and told my dad, once I'd been selected, which was great news.
Mm.
Yeah, so he was there to see it, I suppose.
Yeah. And half the family as well.
Yeah, there's a nice quote from the papers at the time about Alan Ashman. It was saying that Lyndon has won his place on merit. He's played in 5 different positions for the reserves, and he can do any job that he's given. And I've got no worries at all about him playing against the Arsenal. So 5 different positions for the reserves.
Well, I've played more than that for the first team, and later on after that, I think I played centre forward, centre half, number 6, number 2, number 4, number 8, number 7.
Weren't you any good as a goalkeeper then?
I didn't go and goal, really.
Yeah. So on your debut game, some real household names in that, of course, like John Osborne, wasn't there, and Dougie Fraser,
Bobby Hope,
John Talbot, Bobby Hope,
John Kay.
Asa Hartford was there as well, wasn't he?
Asa played in that game, yeah.
Because he was a youngster.
I'm not sure he did play in that game. He played in one after Arsenal game after that, but I'm not sure whether he played in that one. But Asa was at the same time. In fact, I had better regards from Asa last week from a pal of mine, a mutual friend. He bumped into Asa.
Yeah.
And Asa sent his regards. So he's still going strong, which is good news.
Yeah. Now the Arsenal team that day got people like Bob Wilson. And I mean, when I was kids watching it, Bob Wilson was a big name, and Bob McNabb and Frank McClintock, they're household names as well, weren't they?
John Radford.
And interestingly, the person who came on a substitute that day, Bob, was Bobby Gould. Came on a substitute for the Arsenal that day.
Did you really?
Do you remember much about Bobby Gould?
Yeah, I know, Goldie. Yeah, I shouldn't repeat what Bill Shankly said about him.
But you will.
No, I won't, in fact. You don't mind.
He wasn't a Bill Shankly type of player, was he?
Bill Shankly, he said, he couldn't trap a bag of cement. Which is about right, really. But he could stick his head into a bag of cement.
Yeah.
But,
Yeah, there we go. But the newspaper report on that Arsenal game, it says young Hughes played chiefly up front alongside Astle, but with a tall Ewer to mark him, it was an awesome task. And a pass through the middle by Brown, flicked on by Astle to Hughes, and the youngster shot first time from 20 yards, but the Arsenal goalkeeper had to go down to his left to prevent Albion taking the lead. It would have been fantastic to have scored on your debut, but it was fantastic just to be in the team, wasn't it?
it's probably the only shot I had. Yeah, it was fantastic to be in the team. It was a great day. I remember it well.
Yeah, and great memories as well there, Bob, isn't it, from Lyndon Hughes there? Smelly lad as well, of course, good local.
That's right,
lad.
Yeah, I still remember him playing for the England schoolboys at Wembley.
Yep. Now let's return to our Christmas theme now, and here's a greeting from an Albion scoring star of the early 1990s.
Hi, this is Andy Hunt. Merry Christmas to all you Albion fans out there listening on the Throstle Club, and we look forward to an excellent second half to the season.
Yeah, and we'll be talking more with Andy Hunt in a few minutes' time, but first, a bit more from you, Simon. You were talking about Grorty Dick, and so how long did it last, and why did it fold?
Yeah, I mean, we kicked off in 1989. It ran until 2005, so that was 16 years. I think several things, really. Being in the Premier League didn't help because there was blanket coverage everywhere else, and suddenly everybody was an expert. They didn't need any additional information. They knew everything, apparently. And also because that's messed up our image, right, because we couldn't use photographs anymore. And of course, the rise of the internet, and Facebook groups and all sorts. That was, anybody could go on there. It didn't cost them anything, and it was always up to date. So that hammered us as well. And to be honest, it was a degree of fatigue as well, because after 16 years and 151 editions, we'd had promotion, we'd had relegation, we'd had near misses, we'd done pretty much everything we sensibly could. And it was all getting a little bit samey and repetitive, and I think we were dried out. I was shocked, though, because we pushed out the final edition at Old Trafford in 2005, and we basically said, that's it, we're finished. And there were supporters in tears. I was utterly dumbfounded, by the strength of the reaction. People, were absolutely shocked. They wanted their copy autographed. They wanted pictures of us. They wanted to convince us otherwise, but it just wasn't possible. Our sales have pretty much dropped to 1,100, and it's barely moved on in 16 years, and it was time to move on. So it was great of its time. I think it was a need of its time, and there were so many wonderful memories and stories that come out of it one way or another. You touched on Andy Hunt. Shall I share an Andy Hunt anecdote?
Anecdote of Andy.
Them as well. Yeah, there you go. Yeah, every year we did end of year feedback, just to get people's thoughts, just to just keep on track. End of the 97-98 season, one of the questions we asked was, tell me about the worst miss of the season. What was the single worst miss that you can remember? And in first place, nominated the most times, was Andy Hunt for a miss against Sheffield. In second place was Andy Hunt for a miss against Bradford. In third place was Andy Hunt for a miss against Tranmere. And this went on third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh, eighth. The top 14 places were all filled by an Andy Hunt miss. It was really one of those years when he was shooting and missing.
Brilliant. Yeah. Now I preferred, of course, Andy Hunt's goal at Wembley against Port Vale in 1993, just to measure it up a bit. Now, I recently met up with Andy at the excellent Warwick branch of the Albion Supporters Club in Leamington, and Andy recalled making his debut in 1993 when Ozzy Ardiles brought him down from Newcastle United.
The Brighton game at home was, of course, this was the first game at home in front of the Albion fans. It was a very pivotal moment for the club, I suppose, and myself joining the team, and also, Ozzy who brought me down to the club, and he started me in the game. And I'd come from Newcastle. I'd had a year where I'd not been involved in the first team, but I think Ozzy knew that. He probably had more faith in me than I did, and he gave me the opportunity, and he stuck with me, even though I was probably not, as strange as this sounds, I probably wasn't fully match fit after a year of not playing. But first half didn't go too well, but second half it worked out. Scored 3 goals, and there we are. We won the game.
What's it like being on the pitch and hearing your name being chanted? Must be a strange feeling, a great feeling, I suppose.
Yeah, I mean, really, it's. I can't even put into words what that's like to be on the field, to be the centre of attention like that. I just loved the whole sort of emotion and feeling of being on the field and playing and scoring, and of course the adulation that comes after it. I always have a little empathy for everybody else on the field too, because we are the lucky ones as strikers to get that. But of course it's a game where you've got 20 odd players who are all training all week, and then the strikers are the ones that get quite a lot of the credit.
Yeah, now Andy played under 5 different managers at the Albion: Ozzy Ardiles, Ray Harford, Alan Buckley,
Lord,
Dennis Smith,
there's a meeting
and Keith Birkinshaw. Yeah, so there's no prizes for guessing which ones he didn't particularly like getting on with, but no prizes either for guessing who you thought obviously his best manager was, of course, Ozzy Ardiles.
Yeah.
5 different managers you had. Ozzy Ardiles presumably was your favourite.
Ozzy, yeah, of course. I mean, but I already knew Ozzy from Newcastle, so I'd played with him for a year there, and I only got to play for him for 3 months here at the Albion, which is a real pity. If he'd have stayed, the course of history for West Brom would have been totally different, in my opinion. But there we go.
Yeah, so I think he's admitted, hasn't he, that it was the worst mistake that he'd made to have left the Albion.
Absolutely, 100%. I don't think he was ready for the Tottenham job. I think Ozzy knew what he was doing, but I think he would have grown with West Brom as a coach, because don't forget, this is 30 years ago. Ozzy was, how old would he have been then? 50, 55? I don't know. But I think if he'd have stayed at the Albion, his career as a coach, as a manager, would have blossomed, because it would have been a process. But you can understand why he took the job. He is a Spurs guy, anyway, that's what happened.
Yeah, and Ray Harford was another guy that you got on well with and learnt a lot from.
Yeah, Ray was fantastic. Ray had this. I think Ray's drive, I felt, was to improve players. I loved training with him, but again, that was a short period of time as well. So we didn't get to spend very much time with the really good coaches.
You won't mention some of the other managers then.
I'm not talking about no.
Yeah, that was really good. I really enjoyed talking with Andy Hunt there, and what impressed me as well. He's such a good speaker, and he's a good listener as well. Because you have a conversation, he's not one of these people that talks and doesn't listen. He listens to your point of view as well, and he's got a really good grounding of what's happening at the Albion as well, which is really interesting, which you don't often get with ex-players, do you? To the degree that Andy obviously has.
It's funny what Simon was saying about him being the sort of the first 14 of the worst misses. You know, you think now, you think, I wish we'd got a striker who actually created 14 chances.
Yeah.
A striker?
Well,
there's a novelty.
Blimey.
They allowed.
That's a bit futuristic at the moment.
Do we remember Andy Hunt's home debut?
Was that
Bradford was his first game, but that was an away game on a Sunday. Then they were at home the following Saturday. It was his first introduction to the Albion faithful. And because he'd not been training for a time, he looked distinctly portly, shall we say. And he played as though he'd not been playing football for a while. He looked really sluggish, really out of it. And, it was an important game he needed to win. He wasn't contributing much up front. And there were a number of supporters, shall we say, who rather pointedly wanted him to leave the pitch.
But then...
Andy Hunt scored a hat-trick in about 10 minutes. And whoops, red faces all round.
Brilliant character there. He's certainly not forgotten by Albion fans. But let's move on now. There's another former Albion player, David Butler. Now, David Butler's not a household name, perhaps, but he's an Albion player who's got a fascinating post-Albion story. And Bob and myself met up with David a few weeks ago. So we're at David Butler's home, Bob, and come to meet the one and only Dave Butler. I know you've met him before, so you'd obviously realised he got some good stories.
Oh yeah, I mean, I first met Dave when I was working for the Midland Chronicle, and Dave was at the at Albion, and he was in the Midland Intermediate League and then the Central League, so I got to know him very well, and because he was a West Bromwich lad, obviously working for the local paper, he was the one, that we would sort of arrow on towards, and when I did reserve team games and third middle intermediate league games, the one thing about him, he never let you down because he was such a good goal scorer. He'd always got an intro for you. So that was really good. And then when he went, he went to Shrewsbury, and you tend to lose touch with him then, and then he obviously went to America, and it's such a fantastic story that he had in America that I think every Albion fan, whether they remember David or not, will be fascinated by it.
Because it's quite strange, because really, say to people going to interview David Butler, no disrespect to you, David, obviously, but people from an Albion will say, David who? How many games did he play?
Yeah, but the strangest thing about it, is that if you went to Seattle and said David Butler, they'd know immediately.
Well, I hope we're going to find out loads about that, David. So you must have some fantastic stories to tell about the America side. But let's start off with your early years, because you're a West Brom lad. So tell us a bit about your upbringing.
Yeah, well, basically, my father had a pub at Hilltop, the Spring Cottage, and we lived there till we were about 12, and then they actually moved to my mother's brother's fish and chip shop in Wednesbury, and I think I was about 12 when we moved. Was I about 12? Yeah. Oh, no, I was a bit later, 15, but I'd actually been signed at schoolboy forms from West Brom since I was about 12 years old. And
was that? Did they see you playing for the school?
Yes,
what school was that then?
Well, I played for the Manor, but also, at that level, then you play for Staffordshire, and then you play for the three counties. And obviously, I think the guy's name, the scout, was Eric Taylor, and he signed me for schoolboy forms, and I used to go, obviously, on a Tuesday and a Thursday night up to Spring Road, and obviously, the big highlight for me when I was still at school, I actually was in that Youth Cup final team, the 12 players who played in that, and I was still at school. And then when I left school, obviously, I went to West Brom as an apprentice. And funny enough, I've still got the little sheet which Alan Ashman sent to my dad to say we would like to see, sign your son as an apprentice professional. So that was the start of it. And then, as you know, Bob, you start off the Intermediate League and then to the luckily Central League. And as you said, I was just one of those guys that, instinct, I suppose, popped up, and I could always sort of get a few goals.
Yeah.
And
I mean, the one good thing about for any Albion fan is when somebody scores a trick against the Villa.
Well, yeah, it's funny you should say that, because John Homer, as you know well, obviously John, and you might want to follow up on this. He seems to think that there's not many West Brom at any level have scored a hat-trick against Aston Villa. I don't know whether I'm the only one or, at any level. A question came up, and it'd be interesting to find that out. You know. But,
how did that hat-trick come about? Was it just a normal Central League game, or a youth?
No, it was the first leg of the Youth Cup. Right. First leg of the Youth Cup, and I'll give you a little insight to what happened. I was still at school, obviously, and I think we beat I don't know whether it was 3 or 4-1, and as I say, I scored the hat trick, and then we were still in the pub then, and all of a sudden, my dad shouted upstairs, "Dave, coming down." Paddy Ryan was there, came to the pub, and this is a story I think not a lot of people know, but he came to the pub and he said, Mr. Butler, Dave, we can't find the forms, the schoolboy forms, because of course what had happened is I'd scored this hat-trick. Manchester United, Villa, Wolves, everybody was called in the FA. Who is this guy? Has he signed? And I think there was a little panic in there. They must have thought, we'll sign him, but we won't send the forms off. And but anyway, if it was good or not, I signed again, and so I was with West Brom, and then went to be the apprentice, and went through the stages, and as you say, then of course that's when Don Howe took over, and as you say, unfortunately it wasn't a good move for Albion. They went down, and as I say, I was released with a few players, and funny enough, I had an uncle who was very, very, very friendly with Alex Stock from Fulham, and I went down for a trial with Fulham when I left Albion and played a couple of games, and he said, "Yeah, we want you to come at pre-season and have a pre-season with us." But obviously then, the next minute, Shrewsbury came in and said, "We'll sign you to a contract." So, I signed a contract.
It's an interesting thing though, David, you're talking about Don Howe coming in, because I heard as well that obviously you wanted to get into the first team, and you might have just done that, but at fullback.
Yeah, it was quite interesting. We had a practice game, as you usually do, first team against second team and whatever. And Don Howe said, "Dave, I want you to play fullback, right fullback, and mark Willie Johnson," because he was a bit of a quickie, as we know, and I think that was one of my attributes, was a bit of speed. And I did quite well against Willie, and he called me in the office and said, "Dave, I want you to play fullback in the reserves on Saturday." And I said, "Well, thanks very much, boss, but I think, I've waited long enough for George McVitie to leave the club. I'd like to, stay and play up front." And he said, "Fair enough." And the little next story is quite interesting. Goalkeeper Gordon Nisbet then went to that right back position, played 10 games in the reserves, then went into the first team, played 10 games for the first team, and played for England under 21. So, as you say, it's you never know what would have happened, but that's quite another interesting story.
Now we'll be sharing the story of David's exploits in the USA in our Christmas special. I hear you say.
We're doing Christmas special.
Glad you should mention that, because coming up in a fortnight on Black Country Radio Extra, then later on my website TNT News, and also on our podcast through Spotify and the likes, we'll be doing a Christmas special. So that'll be out in about a fortnight's time. Now, final clip today, a golden memory. Lifelong fan Ken Lord. Ken recalls the first season back after World War II and his hero, Davy Walsh. And believe it or not, he scored a goal in each of the first 6 matches of the season. What an incredible record, eh? Unbelievable. Here we go.
He came from Linfield, an Irish team. Same time as Jack Vernon. And them two was the Albion mainstay of that promotion team. 47, 48. Boston centre forward he was.
So this
Davy
is
Walsh.
so Davy Walsh was always your favourite, was he?
Yes. I think because he put the goals in. That's what make football famous now. How many goals they score. Mm-hmm. For his first 6 games, he scored a goal. Which has been an Albion record. I mean, I know people say, oh, how fast Astor scored every goal. And I said, no, you didn't listen to me. I said, he scored in 6 consecutive games. Astor played in the FA Cup, yes, scored every round, but he had league matches in between. But he didn't score 6 goals in consecutive games for the Albion. And then I remember Davy Walsh, when the Albion more or less, he was at the end, as far as the Albion was concerned, he was at the end of his career life. They transferred him to the damn Villa.
I love that when Ken said, you transfer them to the damn Villa? It's just the way he says it, the exasperation in his voice. I said, how dare they transfer somebody to Aston Villa?
I'm with him. I'm with him, yeah.
And we're talking about 1946 here, so things still haven't changed much, have they? So that's a brilliant memory there from Ken. Now, Ken's one of our older listeners, and we've mentioned before, haven't we, on the programme, Bob, that we're always keen to get memories of older listeners. So, folks, get in touch with us.
Yeah, by all means. I mean, there's a lot of things, that we've got plenty of material to go at. I got to pay tribute to Norman, actually. I know he's sitting right here, but the amount of work he's done on this for the Throstle Club has been absolutely phenomenal. And getting all the interviews, that, it's really good. And for people like me who sort of live through the good times, a lot of the good times, to listen to some of the players talking about it, it evokes all the memories that you had, and it is really good, and it helps as well. When you're having a bad day, or you've just come back from the Albion and they've not played particularly well, or things haven't gone right for you, just to come home, put on Spotify, and listen to some of these guys talking, and it does lift you up. So well done, Norm.
Absolutely. I mean, can I put in there just a nudge to mature supporters? They don't often realise that what the memories they have locked away in their heads are pure social history that needs to be recorded for the benefit of this generation and the next. There's older people seem so modest. Oh, nobody'd be interested. Yes, we would, because you've got stuff there nobody else will ever have, and you need to get it out. Share it, and share it with Norm.
The interesting thing as well, I know, we're talking about the Grorty Dick, and I know there's people out there thinking, what do I get me dad for Christmas? What can I get Grandad for Christmas? I'll tell you something, you tell them, Simon, because I know it's difficult to get in the Grorty book that you bought out, the recollections, but if you can get your hands on this Grorty book that Simon Wright did, please get it, because it will evoke so many good memories to so many people. Where can I get it from?
Yeah, I mean, it came out 2 years ago. Basically, there aren't really any. I think there's 12 copies left, and what we've done, we've given them all to a charity called Bocca's Legacy. It's a cancer charity. If you go on Google and just type in Bocca's Legacy, they've got a shop, and all the remaining copies are on there.
Bocca,
BOCCA, and I think there's an S. Bocca's Legacy. It's a Halesowen-based charity, a very worthy cause. You may also find some in the charity shops too, but go to Bocker's Legacy if you can.
Right, so there we are. Now, I know Grorty Dick over the years was involved in some good sponsorship things as well, man. Some good funny things as well, weren't there?
Oh, Lord, yeah. I mean, we're a fanzine, want to do things differently. We didn't want to just sponsor a player. So we talked to the Albion, who obviously were really desperate. And we said, look, if we give you 30 quid to sponsor the washing machine, will you put it in the programme? And, oh, yeah. So, under all the players, this line saying, Maureen's washing machine sponsored by Grorty Dick. And I thought, well, OK, fine. Well, let's see what else we can get. So, one of our players at the time, Gary Hackett, I think is featured on this here station. At the time, I had a rather splendid perm, so I said, "Can we sponsor his perm?" So that went in as well. I mean, you couldn't do it now, but clearly the football club were desperate. They'd take any money for anything, So we got Gary Hackett's perm, and then there was a player who got a tortoise, so we said, "We'll sponsor his tortoise as well." So it all got very, very silly. But
you've not taught us that before.
Oh dear. Yeah.
Just like Christmas cracker jokes.
Dear. Yeah, I mean, there's so many memories in the book.
Didn't you help a player as well to get a wheelchair?
Yes, we did. Yeah. At that time, the Albion would not had no interest in anybody. Len Millard, wasn't it?
That's Len Millard.
He wanted an electric wheelchair, which at the time, I mean, they were quite new things. It was £2,000, and his son wrote to the Albion and wrote, got no response. So he came to us, and we did what we could. We had a sponsored edition, and we linked them in with a Sunday newspaper that was sort of like doing worthy causes. And they said, "Oh yes, please, that's great. We can certainly do that." So in a few months later, Len Millard got his wheelchair, and he was in a home. Comforts like that made such a difference to his life.
Brilliant. Yeah, there's loads of other stories about that. I'm sure we could talk, but we're about to run out of time, unfortunately, on this edition of the Throstle Club. Now, coming up soon, in a fortnight, rather than waiting 4 weeks, in a fortnight's time, we're going to have our Christmas special with lots of light-hearted stories and good, positive memories and stories about West Bromwich Albion. So that's about it, Bob. So, gone quick, hasn't it?
It has gone quick. I've... straight out of Black Country Radio, straight into Merryhill Christmas shopping.
Oh, Lord. Oh, you poor thing.
Oh, no.
I think I'd rather sit here and look across the Billy, wouldn't you? Well, no, on second thoughts, on second thoughts, I'll come with you to Merryhill. Let's go. So there we are then. Once again, thanks to you, Simon, as well, for joining us on the programme. And if it's not too early, let's say a very Merry Christmas to all
everybody.
Our listeners.
Happy Christmas, everybody.
Happy Christmas, you lucky people.
Yeah.
This is the Throstle Club with Norman Bartlam and Bob Downing.